Do you have to almost catch yourself when you're having a thought that's a misaligned thought, and correct it? I mean, it seems to me it's stuck in here in our subconscious mind in some way.
It sort of is.
So you get a hold of this thought and you realize I just had a judgmental thought, so I'm not going to do that again.
Well,
but for me, I have to go back and correct the thought, and then I have to correct the behavior.
But just slow yourself down unnecessarily. We've written a lot of books with a lot of processes, and we're just here to tell you it's sort of kind of the hard way of going about it. Because when you slumber, your momentum stops. And when you find the high-flying disc and increase that momentum, now things are really working fast for you. And we're not saying that there is not behavior that you might want to change. Of course there is. But anytime you find yourself efforting, you're beating the wrong end of the stick. And you're practicing the vibration of resistance, and you don't mean to, rather than the vibration of allowance.
I often, for myself, have thought, I don't know, I'm changing my mind as we're talking here, that making amends, for example, making amends is a way of reprogramming your subconscious mind.
Well, when you find alignment with Source, Source never forgives anyone because Source never condemned anybody to begin with.
In the first place, yeah.
So when you feel the way Source feels about someone, you're in sync with Source. And you call it forgiveness, we call it alignment. And you get hooked on that feeling because it sure feels better to love them than to hate them.
Oh, yeah. So
Esther says to us on more than one occasion, well, Abraham, maybe I need to tell you more about that person. Seems to me you're being a little unrealistic in your unconditional love for them. But unconditional love is loving because that's what you do. Conditional love is change that behavior and then I'll love you. And that is such a trap for you and for them because now everybody's trying to figure out what behavior is the appropriate behavior. Nobody feels very good. You're mad at each other because nobody's really getting it done. And meanwhile, Source is loving all of you and feeling very good about it.
I wanted to ask you about an experience that many of you know. About 3 years ago, I was diagnosed with leukemia. And I had a series of events and so on. And there's a gentleman on the planet living in Brazil, in Abidjan. His name goes by the name John of God in English. And now, who am I to ask you whether entities can enter into somebody else's body?
By the results of what you experienced.
Yeah, but I had this most amazing experience with John of God.
Because like Jesus, his vibration of well-being was dominant. And because your expectation didn't prevent it, in that alignment, you experienced that.
So, I haven't been back to check blood levels or anything like that because I just go by how I feel and I feel fine. So, but so many things changed in that. But the major change after having this healing experience with this man who has treated some 40 million people over the last 40 years or so, was that a week after the experience, two of my children were with me on Maui. And when I walked out of the room, and I looked at they just looked totally different to me than they ever had before. They just looked like pure.
You were looking at them through the eyes
love.
of Source.
Yeah. And I mean, I was weeping. I mean, I put my arms around my daughter and told her how beautiful she is. I was holding my son. I looked at the ocean. It looked like a sea of love. I looked at the palm trees there.
Alignment. Influenced to alignment.
Yeah, it was so powerful. I mean, and what I think, my 71st birthday was a couple weeks later, and I woke up that morning, my birthday, I was in San Francisco, and I was making a film about my father, about forgiveness and so on, called My Greatest Teacher. And all I wanted to do that day, and I never had a birthday like this, and I've never forgotten it, I went downstairs and I had a couple of $1,000s with me, and I went down and got $50 bills. A couple of $1,000s with him. And I went out to Union Square, and all I did all day long, from 7 o'clock in the morning until about 5 o'clock in the afternoon, was just embrace homeless people, old ladies who were looking for plastic water bottles to take back, and people didn't smell very good, and people who were, I mean, it was like, and I was just in this state of bliss. It was such a pure love. All I wanted to do was give. I just wanted to give. I just wanted to serve. And that impacted me so much that, I mean, it's why I wear love on my shirt. It's why I'm writing about divine love. It's why I'm here speaking to you who teaches us about something called divine love, and what a thrill it is for me to just be here in your presence. But it was all, what it seemed to me was happened is, like, when you're told that you have something like leukemia, there is fear associated with it. Not fear of dying so much, but just this cancer. It's that word, cancer of the blood, and and there's so much of it in our society, so much of it. And I have a dear friend, her name's Anita Moorjani, who's written a book about her near-death experience called Dying to Be Me. And she talked about her cancer and how serious it was and how she was able to come back from it. And she said, it's just all fear. It's just all fear. It felt like the entities that came to me through John of God came in and took the fear, whatever that fear was related to that, and just removed it and replaced it with love. Is that?
We would say it a little differently than the removal part. No. The emphasis on the love part, yes. Mm-hmm. So that the vibration of well-being was dominant. It's an interesting subject because everyone who is here in a physical body understands that they are going to make a transition. And yet it's seen by most humans as an inappropriate thing to do. So right away, if some path of least resistance looks like it's taken you out, then you have some determination to make about how you feel about being here. In other words, we were talking earlier about the contrast. You know what you don't want, you know what you do want. And soon there can be a pretty wide gap there. But when you close that gap, it's a really wonderful rush. So we want to put healing in the category of everything else that we've been talking about and call it alignment. But we also want to say that there's an awful lot of true alignment that happens in what you call the unwanted death experience, you see. And so what it comes down to is you and your physical body just making a statement of what you intend, because there is a trajectory, but you get to decide. As long as you're having fun and having meaningful experiences and are enjoying the way life is juxtapositioning you with other things, then there is no reason that you cannot continue to sift through the contrast and give birth to new intentions, and Source will support you in all of that, no matter what, you see. It really is your choice. And most, when they think of some of these illnesses, feel that they are without choice. That's why you feel fear, is because fear is the opposite of the way Source feels about you in that situation, you see. Fear is just the way you feel when you have a different opinion than the way Source feels. So what did John of God do for you? Because you, like everyone else, you have access to that energy stream. You did not need an intermediary to flow stronger energy at you. But what he did, he caused you to focus in a way where you had stronger expectation. In other words, he soothed the vibration of misalignment and allowed the vibration of alignment.
He allowed, say that? That was so beautiful.
You, by your attention upon him, found a way of allowing the energy that was there for you all along to be received by you. He's not receiving the energy and asserting it to you. You don't need someone to assert healing energy. You're all tapped in. But he helped you in the expectation phase. He, by virtue of what you know for him to do, what you've heard about him doing, caused your expectation to shift so that the fear was not there. And in the absence of the fear caused by your focusing upon him, then the healing took place.
But it was, the healing was such a feeling of love, such a feeling of, I mean, it's
alignment, clarity. Use the word clarity. That's the best word to describe alignment. Clarity, knowing, unquestioning. Yeah?
Yeah, it's one of the, and I can see clearly now.